The Los Angeles Rams are broken. How the team is dealing with the heartbreaking loss in the NFC Championship game. Also, we've got some updates on the coaching staff for next season. A coach that was on the radar for head coaching jobs is staying with the Rams for 2026. And we're getting into the big needs of the offseason. What positions do the Rams need to target? All that more coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramley, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor. Join the party, getting close to 22,000 subscribers, lots of new viewers, lots of new listeners, and we are nonstop, all gas, no breaks, the entire offseason, taking you through the draft, through free agency, the Matthew Stafford decision, everything that goes along with it. We're going to be here with you every step of the way. So definitely be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. If you want to support every episode, drop a comment. Hit the like button. Also, podcast listeners, write us a review. We'll read on the show. My name is Doug McCain. Friends call me DMAC. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, Bleacher Report, SI, Dodgers Nation, the LA Sports Report, also NFL Radio for Westwood One. Today I'm flying solo. The People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, will be back tomorrow. But on today's episode, an NFL insider tells us how the Rams are dealing with the heartbreaking loss in the NFC Championship game, and it sounds like the Rams are down bad. Also, we got some updates on some of the coaches that have been taking interviews, and will they stay? Will they go? Well, a big key coach is actually staying, and that's good news for the Rams. Also, we are going to get into the 5 biggest positions of need. We'll throw in some bonus ones that the Rams need to address this offseason. But first, today's episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. So, Ramley, how we doing? I know I don't sound good. I watched a couple of replays of the game, watched the All-22, and I was screaming at my television because there were certain moments that I was pretty upset about. Obviously, Xavier Smith comes to mind. And yeah, look, I'm half kidding here. But yeah, if you're wondering why my voice sounds like this, going through a little bit of a flu or cold, whatever it may be. But I'm on the mend. I don't feel as bad as I sound. So let's just put it that way. And anytime I get to talk about the Rams, I'm feeling better, even if it is under circumstances that I wish were different. But let's get into it, because the question about this Rams team is, how are they going to bounce back from this? How are they going to attack this offseason? Les Snead and Sean McVay and the entire organization, they felt like this team was a Super Bowl team. And ESPN NFL insider Peter Schrager, who is very tapped into the Rams as much as any insider can be, Peter Schrager is very respected within that Rams building, and he has some really good insight about what's going on, how they're reacting as a organization and as a team to that loss of the Seahawks. He said, quote, "They were convinced they were a Super Bowl team, knowing Sean McVay very well. They're down big right now. They're feeling it, all of them. And that's all the coaches and all them. But knowing McVay, how much he puts into it, how much he invests, and how much he wants this for all of those players and for all of those people, he looks at it as this is his baby. It didn't happen, and it didn't happen in a year where they thought that it would. They're not even close to turning the page to this offseason. And they're not even close to going down that path yet. They're broken over there in LA right now, and it's their hearts It's their spirits. It's everything. So I like this. I appreciate this. This is not a bunch of players that are like, okay, what's next? Free agency, or what's next? Let's go on a big vacation. Let's go to Cancun. Let's go meet the 49ers in Cancun and all the teams that are eliminated. No, this was a team that made it to the Final Four. This is a team that was one win away from Super Bowl 60 at Levi's Stadium. And they know that they shot themselves in the foot multiple times in this game. And no slight to Seattle. They earned it. Sam Darnold stood tall in the pocket. He made throws when he needed to. And that defense did a great job covering Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams in that final run where Matthew Stafford just needed to get the ball in the end zone from the 6-yard line, and they could still get a first down. It's 4th and 4. We know what happened. Incomplete pass to Terrence Ferguson, and they weren't able to get the football back. But I do appreciate that this team feels this way because it tells you how committed this organization is. It tells you that they believe, just like you believe, that they could win the Super Bowl this season. And it did happen, but you got to hope that this sparks some dramatic changes. And sometimes you don't get dramatic and drastic changes until you hit rock bottom. And they haven't hit rock bottom as far as a team because this is a successful season by a lot of different ways of measuring success. Most teams in the NFL would kill to be in the Rams' shoes. Most teams in the NFL, hey, they might hang a banner if they made it to the NFC Championship game. The Rams won't because they know that the window isn't really big with Matthew Stafford. It's not very wide open, and they're just a very competitive team with a lot of great competitive people in this organization that, hey, if it's not a championship, it's a failure. And that's kind of how you look at it if you're the Rams. But having said that, special teams was what happened this season from all the way at the beginning to the block kicks against the Eagles to the issues all throughout the playoffs. I mean, the Bears game was a little better, but in the Panthers game, you had the block punt that led to a touchdown. And then in this one, Xavier Smith's muff punts. We're going to live in Rams infamy forever. We're going to be tormented about those moments and have nightmares about those moments for the rest of time because honestly, they probably cost the Rams Super Bowl. There's more things. The defense wasn't good enough and Seattle was good. And there's a lot of things there, but maybe that this pain they're feeling that Peter Schrager talks about leads to, we are going to be very aggressive when it comes to fixing our special teams operation. And look, they drafted a kicker in Josh McCarty. They spent draft capital on a kicker, but it just didn't work out. And Chase Blackburn, he does not get the job done. And we do have an update on the special teams situation. Timeline here, Chase Blackburn, he was fired. It was the first time that Sean McVay has let go of a coordinator in season. Benko Tuika took over as the interim special teams coach, but the Rams are looking for a permanent replacement. And according to Tom Pelissaro, NFL insider from the NFL Network, the Rams have requested to interview Bubba Ventrone. And first and foremost, I love the name. I hope that I'm pronouncing it correctly. I believe that I am. He spent the last 3 years under Kevin Stefanski, and the chance that he doesn't stay in Cleveland after the team hired Todd Monken as their new head coach. But that's interesting. Ventrome, he got his start in coaching in 2015. He was a special teams assistant with the Patriots. He was there for 3 years. He was hired by the Colts as a special teams coordinator in 2018. He stayed in Indianapolis for 5 seasons before joining the Cleveland Browns coaching staff in 2023. He was a player. He spent 8 years in the NFL. He played for the Patriots, the Browns, the 49ers, and he played as recently as 2014. So the Browns special team unit, it's interesting because for that to be the first name, it makes you wonder what the Rams have done as far as their background on him. But he's definitely viewed as a really high quality special teams coordinator. And I think that for a guy who actually was a safety in the NFL, I like the fact that the Rams are kind of already identifying it. And he's very highly regarded. And if you're in Cleveland and you fail, or you're in Cleveland, you're a bad team, you're not judged as harshly. So we'll see. I mean, could be his agent speaking that he's highly regarded, but look, I mean, if you go to Browns insiders, I've contacted some beat writers for the Browns, and yeah, like fans are mixed on him, but I trust the Rams in this situation. It's kind of one of those things where if the Rams like it, I love it, and I'm hoping that the mistake with Chase Blackburn was so bad, and it not only cost them in the regular season, where if you had better special teams play, you probably end up with the 1 seed, and you have a bye, and you only have to win 2 games at SoFi to get the Super Bowl, but also it cost them their biggest game of the year. So this doesn't mean they're going to hire this guy, but it does let you know that the fact that there's already reporting out on looking for special teams coordinators this early in the game, it tells you it's top of mind and top priority, even as we talked about at the top of the segment, that they're already on the lookout. And they're heartbroken, but they're still working through the heartbreak. And even though they're down bad, they're trying to improve this team. By the way, something to lighten the mood. I know, vibes aren't great in Rams land. But something to lighten the mood is Aaron Donald said that he would have played in the fourth quarter of the NFC title game if they let him in. In the Inner Circle podcast, he said, with the anthem, I started to get them emotions again. I felt immortal again, right? Like I was playing, I couldn't stop moving, start getting them jitters, jumping around. If they would have said, Aaron, you can play in this fourth quarter to help close this game out, you're allowed to play, I probably would have went out there and played a little bit. I ain't gonna lie, I was juiced up. He said, I wanted to go out there and hit somebody. I started about to drool, man. Palms are sweaty. I had the butterflies in my stomach, man. It felt good, though. It was a good experience for me to have the opportunity to do that and relive that a little bit. So, of course, the Rams, they really could have used him against the Seahawks after getting 31 points and not getting enough pressure on Sam Darnold. But, yeah, Aaron Donald has basically shut down any possibility of coming back. Who knows? I hope he remembers that feeling next year. I know he shut it down. It's very minimal handshake, but he was in attendance. And, yeah, wouldn't that have been something? Obviously, it would have been allowed, but, yeah, I don't know how this makes you feel. It makes you feel really – it makes me – it's like the Wolverine meme where you're just kind of looking at the Wolverine, and Wolverine's on the bed. He's looking at the picture, and he's just kind of sad. That's me looking at Aaron Donald because yeah, he would have been a difference maker, and I feel like they probably would have won that football game with prime Aaron Donald. But coming up next, what are the top positions of need for the Rams? That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
Hey, it's Matt Derry from the Locked On Lions podcast. The people I love depend on me. If I'm gone, the financial responsibilities don't disappear. I didn't want my family figuring things out during the hardest moment of their lives. That's why I knew only one place to go. I chose life insurance through my friends at Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. I love the folks at Ethos. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get the free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ETHOS.com/LockedOnNFL. Ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Application times and rates may vary.
There's nothing like being in an NBA arena. The crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been so simple. That's why Gametime has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back to where it belongs, with the fans. And I love the Gametime app. I've used it. I bought World Series tickets for my wife, my mom. They went to Game 3. It was a legendary game, 18 innings. Freddie Freeman walk-off home run, and it's a core memory. It's something they'll never forget, and that's why going to sporting events is awesome, and you just never know what exciting moment you're going to get to experience in real life. And I pulled up the Gametime app. I also picked an upcoming NBA game and had tickets locked within minutes. I love seeing the all-in price up front. No surprise fees at checkout. Being able to see the view from the seat before buying made the decision easy. Zone deals stood out too. You choose the section, Gametime picks the seats, and you save. Great last-minute options, too, with NBA tickets showing up at solid prices. Everything feels quick, intuitive, and stress-free from start to finish. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free to available wherever your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Speaking of every day, if you want to make my day, yes, it's not been great. Rams losing. I've been sick. If you want to pick me up, join that Everyday Listeners Club. Go to lockedonrams.supercast.com and join the Everydayer Club. And if you haven't already, just go check it out. You get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Rams, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. An invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club on the Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of the show. And we're going to hype that up. We're going to be in there, and we're going to be in the mix. So go to lockedonrams.supercast.com to join. lockedonrams.supercast.com to get started. It's going to be exciting. This is going to be this is the most important offseason in Rams franchise history. I know that sounds hyperbole here, but they got maybe one more crack at this thing with Matthew Stafford. And at that age, I don't care how good he looks. I don't care that he's going to win the MVP. Every year is different. Every year is unique. And you still got to take it year to year, even if it looks like you can play another 5 to 10 years. That's how you have to look at this thing, through that prism. So this offseason is going to be so pivotal. So lock in, Ramley. Don't miss a thing here on Locked On Rams. Okay. So a quick update on the coaching situation. So Rams offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur, he interviewed for the Cardinals job. He left without a contract offer. The big news, though, is that Nate Scheelhaase is going to stay with the Rams. And he's going to be a, quote, factor in the next cycle. So Jeremy Fowler, he reported that Nate Scheelhaase is going to stay with the Rams as their passing game coordinator. He's 35. He interviewed with multiple teams, including the Steelers and the Browns, the Bills, the Ravens. The Raiders are the only team left that has an opening that he interviewed with, but by all reports, it appears he's going to stay. The Cardinals, the other team with a vacancy, they did not interview him, and reports that indicate that Mike LaFleur is the front runner. So Mike LaFleur could take that job, which would be really interesting to see him stay in the division. But if LaFleur leaves, maybe Scheelhaase, he could be promoted to offensive coordinator. We know Sean McVay's be calling the plays, but that's going to really help the resume. As, hey, I'm the offensive coordinator. Learning under Sean McVay is going to be only a matter of time until he gets that head coaching job. So that's really, really important because he's been really, really big as far as introducing some unique passing concepts into the Rams offense, and you hear great things about him. So I like the fact that he's not just taking the first job or desperate to leave, and you just want to soak it up as much as possible with Sean McVay. And then, hey, when the right job presents itself, then you jump on it. All right, let's get into some of these roster needs, and we'll keep you updated on the coaching stuff too, because it's still a fluid situation. But of course, you guys know the first one. The number one biggest position need is the quarterback spot. The Rams need a cornerback. They need multiple cornerbacks potentially. Kobe Durant, he's a free agent. Akella Witherspoon, he's a free agent. Roger McCreary, he's a free agent. The Rams can save $7.5 million if they cut Darius Williams. And Emmanuel Ford Jr. is just on the books for $285 million in 2026. So let's just call it what it is. As bad as the special teams play was, the cornerback spot really cost the Rams for long stretches of the season, and especially against the Seahawks. Sam Darnold absolutely carved that secondary when he wanted. Really, the entire defense struggled as a whole, but still, the Rams have not solidified that position. And it's obvious that they need to go out there and use draft capital, high draft capital on a cornerback, pick one up. You got to get a guy to fill that spot. The Rams have not drafted a cornerback in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft since they selected LaMarcus Joyner in 2014. And even LaMarcus Joyner did not stay at cornerback. He went to safety. So it's time for them to invest in that position. And just like we talked about, kind of the theme of this episode is that heartbreak there. Is the heartbreak so painful that it forces them to just change their method of thinking just a little bit because of how dramatic things turned out? And will you see them go to a more calculated approach when it comes to those positions? So cornerback's big. We're going to spend a lot of time breaking down different college cornerback options, what they can do in free agency. Are there any big trades they can make? So we're definitely going to dive into that a lot this offseason. And then the wide receiver spot. You're like, wait a second, D-Mac, wide receiver. They got Puka Nacua. He's the best in the league, right? Him, JSN, Jamar Chase, Jettas. Yeah, sure, no doubt about it. But then it's like, yeah, you got Devontae Adams, and he's under contract for next season. But past that, look at that depth. Tutu Atwell, he got paid $10 million per touchdown for the past season. He's gone. 1 touchdown, by the way, if you didn't get that. And Jordan Whittington, he's pretty much a special teams guy at this point. Did get some opportunities, but it doesn't feel like they're viewing him as that right now. And then Konate Mumfield, he's not that guy. They really try to prop him up early on and convincing themselves that he was going to be this impact player. And yeah, he could have been a steal. It's not like they spent a high pick on or anything like that. But the Rams, if they want to take this offense to the next level and not really have to rely on 13 personnel as much, even though it's a good package to have, go get another receiver. And the thing about the Rams is when the Rams offense is at its best, we've seen 11 personnel, right? That is Sean McVay's baby. And for 13 personnel to work, it's multiple tight ends. 12 personnel, have your package. But 11 personnel, you need 3 good receivers. And yes, Puka's elite. Devontae Adams still, I think, is an above average receiver at this point who can really do a lot of really good things in the red zone, as evidenced by him leading the league in touchdowns last season. But just look at the history. I mean, from Sammy Watkins, Robert Woods to Cooper Kupp, to Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and Brandon Cooks, to Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham Jr., Van Jefferson. You need a wide receiver 3 that really has wide receiver 2 type moments. And with Matthew Stafford coming back, hopefully, and the Rams not drafting a quarterback, hopefully, then I think you got to push all those chips in the middle of the table. Mekhi Lemon from USC. That's the dude that you got to try to get. I think he just looks and plays like a Ram. Go watch his highlights. I can see the Rams horns on his helmet already. That'd be that would get the fans excited. And hey, if there's a cornerback in that spot, fine. But I'm looking at ways to maximize Matthew Stafford because look, ask teams like the Dolphins, as teams have gone decades without having a great franchise Super Bowl winning quarterback, what you would do if you had a guy like that still in your organization. You would go all the way in. But coming up next, we're going to drop some more needs, more positions that need to be addressed, and a position that you might be surprised I'm going to mention. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. And whether you're just backing the favorite, riding the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so here in our third segment, some more positions of need. We're going to stretch this one out to multiple episodes. We're going to talk about the quarterback spot tomorrow. Do the Rams maybe not draft a quarterback with their first couple of picks, but do they take one later in the draft? Remember, Jimmy Garoppolo, he was the backup quarterback. Thankfully, Matthew Stafford was healthy, but the Rams have invested in the backup quarterback spot. And Stetson Bennett is the QB3. Do they want to get a younger quarterback that can play a backup role that you can kind of develop under Matthew Stafford? That's some food for thought. We'll tackle that one in depth this week as well as far as the future of the quarterback spot. But how about the kicker spot? And you might be surprised to hear me say this because I'm all in. I bought all the houses on Harrison Mevis, the thicker kicker island. But if we're going to dive into the special teams market and then interview coaches and make that a priority, I think you got to bring in someone and maybe you sign one, maybe you don't draft one, but maybe you can just bring another guy in to compete for that job. You just have to. With Harrison Mevis, he missed just one kick and he was getting it right through the middle. He didn't have these booming like 60-yard kicks or anything, but he made the makeables, and that's the most important thing. The Rams bring him back, though. I still think that they should bring someone back just to bring someone else in to compete for the job because that is going to make guys better. And there's going to be some day 3 draft picks. You could use someone, but signing a kicker could make some sense as well. And then also, get a return specialist. I mean, and yes, this is a response to Xavier Smith's punt because even without Xavier Smith and those issues that he had, he was 13th in the NFL in punt return yards this season, but averages 9.3 yards per return. Only 6 players with a 20-plus punt returns this year average less. So the Rams weren't really anything as far as kick returns. I mean, Jordan Whittington, Ronnie Rivers, they were not bad. But if you're looking to improve on the margins and get a spot like Rashid Shaheed did against the 49ers, like the Rams don't have anyone that can do anything remotely close to that. So I definitely think that we're looking at different ways to improve this team and improve their chances and provide a pop. And I definitely think that that's an area where we can look for a pop. So that's something I want to see. is can you go out there and look for areas that aren't the obvious ones, that just to get a little bit of an advantage and improve your chances. And yeah, I do have PTSD for Xavier Smith, and I wonder if he flew home with a team plane. I mean, they had to probably get a separate flight. Now, obviously, I hope he's doing okay. Things happen, and I hate to see that for anyone, because that's going to be a play he'll be remembered by, and you hate to see that. So Xavier Smith, hey man, we hope you're keeping your chin up, man. It's tough, but hey, we're gonna do this, Ramley, next year. Next year can't come soon enough, but you're not going to be able to enjoy next year as much unless you don't follow this team all throughout the offseason. Hardcores. This is your show. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.